So, we left, went down to Jersey, and as my girlfriends said they would, they came to my mother's house and they sat with me. They didn't do anything. They just sat with me. We laughed and we kikied, watching TV, and they just sat there, not needing to say anything. I didn't need them to say anything, and they knew that I didn't need them to say anything, because it's not like, what do you say in a situation like that? There's nothing to say. There's nothing a person can say in that moment at that time that could ever make a person feel better. And I know people try to say, oh, they're in a better place. In that moment, like, yes, it's true, but this sucks. That's how you feel, right? So they didn't need to say anything. Just them being there was enough. And they knew that, and I knew that. And they sat there, and they would sit there for that week leading up to his homegoing service. They would come over and they would sit there, and they would just let me, if I wanted to talk, they would let me talk. If I wanted to laugh or watch something funny on TV, they would. They would bring me food. Excuse me. One of my sister friends, Cindy, when it came time to go get my clothes for the funeral, the homegoing service, she came up with me. She helped me to clean up the rest of the house. My girlfriend Shakira, who lived up here at the time, that same day, they both came, and we went up there and along with my mom and my aunt to clean up the house, because I had decided that I wasn't going back, and I needed to pack up the house to get ready to move. And my dear friends helped me. I will never, as long as I live, to this day, I'm still friends with Shakira. I'm still friends with all of my sister friends from Tehillah. I have, multiple. I have sister friends. When I'll say multiple sister friends that you might ever hear me mention, but my sister friends from the Tehillah group that I sing with, the choir that I sing with, is a bunch of them. So you'll hear me refer to them as that. And no words could ever express my appreciation. No words. They had my back, because we've been through some stuff, together. Deaths, divorces, and that's what really I think life is about. And again, community. The next day, Leon and Kenyon. So Kenyon was the drummer at the church at the time, and him and Leon are best friends. They could thieves grew up together. And Ken and I became friends as well, obviously with him playing at the church. They came the next day. When I tell you, you would have thought they were feeding the whole family. But for me, and for other people too, they brought all these bags of Chick-fil-A. They know how much I love Chick-fil-A. We would go to Chick-fil-A all the time. Christian chicken. And they brought all this Chick-fil-A. That made me smile. They knew that would make me smile. And we sat there and we watched Greenleaf. Because we was watching Greenleaf at the time. My girlfriend Tashana, my best friend from from high school. She came and she sat, and there were others, obviously, people from our church that came, but I'm mentioning my community, that really, they showed up. And I just, I'm grateful, but I will say this in terms of the grief process for me, from day one, there was not a moment that I didn't smile. From day one after Kenny passed away, I'm just a very jovial, not jovial, I'm a very happy, positive person, upbeat person. Always have been. It doesn't mean that I don't go through things. It doesn't mean that I don't hurt. It doesn't mean that I don't go through, that I don't experience pain and trauma. Like I said, I'm a realist. So for me, I'm going to make sure that that I go through. Camera's doing. For me, I'm going to always be true to how I feel in the moment. So that's how I came to understand grief, or good grief to be. There were people that said to me, oh, like that would call me. They would call and I was at my mom's, and then I was like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm good. And by the time they were getting off the phone, I was either praying for them or encouraging them, and they were sad. And I'm like, and it's okay that they were feeling that way. But I think a lot of people, at least it was the way it was communicated to me, they were shocked by the way, excuse me. They were shocked by the way that they heard me when I was on the phone. I guess they expected me to be despondent, and people by that point didn't know the details about his passing, or that I had found him. Like, that wasn't like public knowledge. They just knew, you have to understand, for a lot of people, they knew, how can I put this? But let me say it this way. Many times when we see people who are married, who are grown about this stuff, right? Because every marriage has problems, including mine. I'm not exempt from it. I'm not going to sit here. I'm a transparent person. I've always been that kind of person. When I'm sharing or I'm teaching, I'm very transparent. And let me move this back. I don't know what's happening with my camera, with the way this thing is tilted. But I'm a very transparent person, and so I'm not going to sit here and act like, people. I'm trying to make it like, oh, what is happening? I'm not going to try to make it. There it is. I'm not going to try to make it like everything was, peachy keen. Marriages. Listen, if you're going to dare to be married, please know that it's not going to be perfect all the time, right? So we had our share of differences and problems and different things that we were dealing with. That, again, I would never, ever, 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 ever disclose, because what's the point now? Kenny has passed away, and I'm being honest in saying that sometimes when you see people on surface that are married or in relationships, or even when you see people who look like they have it all together, right? You think they got it all together on surface, but in reality, it's not together. It's just the way they navigate through challenge. And that's not a bad thing. Like, again, having challenges in marriage or problems and different things like that doesn't mean it's not a terrible thing. It's life. It is very much life. And anybody that's been married, I'll say a month, will understand that, it comes with its challenges, because you're getting to know each other. I don't care how long you've been together. And so, most recently, someone I know, someone I know lost their husband, and I remember hearing them say, it wasn't perfect, but they loved each other, and that was me and Kenny for sure. But the thing of it was by this point, this is my second marriage, and my first marriage was crazy. And maybe when I do the good grief and talk about the episode and talk about loss of relationships by way of divorce, or loss of friendships, or relationships, romantic relationships where you break up and stuff like that, maybe I'll talk about that. But I will say this, that was crazy, that situation. Yeah, it was crazy. And so by the time I got married to Kenny, a lot of people were like rooting for me and rooting for him and rooting for us to, like, be together. And we were married and learning how to be married and learning how to navigate through life amidst challenges outside of our marriage and inside of our marriage, you know? So, yeah, so that was that. And so, it was just different, but the people were there, you know, the community was there for me. When I say my community, they were there for me, for whatever I needed. And obviously my mom and my daughter, listen, in her adult years, we've become friends. I said that, I think, in my first episode. And so that's what it was. And she held me down. She always does. She held me down, you know, in times when I was on the road and things were going on back at home, like if my mom got sick or something like that, and you know, they were trying to protect me from the information by not telling me if it wasn't so dire. They didn't tell me, you know, there was one situation that they didn't, and I didn't find out until I got home from being overseas. They were trying to protect me so that I could work and do my job on the road, but know that they, you know, had it under control. And it was my daughter. She yeah, that's my girl. And so, you know, she was there. Anything that I needed, you know, my god sister Shanye, the one who does my hair, and Charlie, they were there. You know, I was able to literally go the next day and get my hair done, or whatever day, the day, you know, before the funeral, get my hair done. And, you know, just so many different things in life. Life was different, never to be the same, and it's not been the same since. And there have been challenges since. But one thing I will say, I have learned to process my grief in a healthy way. I've allowed myself to feel. I've not tried to numb it in any way, shape, or form, or rush the pain away, or I've not tried to negate that the pain is there or act like nothing happened. You know, there's so many ways that people do try to not deal with it, or to desensitize themselves, you know, because again, it's hard. You want to get past the pain of it, and God knows it's painful, but it's important to me that we understand that dealing with it, feel, deal, heal, again, like I said in the first episode, is important. Feel it. Allow yourself to sit, literally sit in it. And it can be uncomfortable, but sit in it so that you can deal with it. And while I'm at this point, therapy is your friend. Like I said it before, I'll say it again, you'll hear me say it. Therapy is so important. I got into therapy. I was already seeing a therapist prior to it happening. And so afterwards, I definitely got into therapy. And be careful with self-medicating. I didn't self-medicate. I know that there are people that do. And when I say self-medicate, people like, you know, whether it's drugs, alcohol, or whatever. I didn't. And I remember that there was someone who recommended that I have my doctors prescribe Vicodin for me for the funeral, because I remember after Kenny passing away, I was so jittery. Like I was jittery every day for a long time. Like I couldn't control it. My nerves were just like, it was a physical response to the trauma that I experienced. And so the person suggested, you know, it was one of my loved ones, suggested that I get that just in case. And I did, but I never took it. But for those of you who do have to take something, because anxiety is very real. And I admit there are times where I still experience, like, PTSD is a real thing. And it wasn't until COVID hit that I realized that I was experiencing PTSD of my own. I don't, well, I was going to say I don't play victim or anything like that, and that's not playing victim. Please understand what I'm saying. I was just saying I'm the kind of person, I don't, let's keep moving, let's keep moving. I'm gonna deal with it. We're gonna be all right. I'm gonna be all right. I might lay on the floor for the first day and cry. I might stay in the bed and cry and I'm gonna lick my wounds or whatever, but I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna bounce back from this. That's me. And I know that is probably more of a learned behavior, probably from my mom's side of the family, I would say. My grandmother was widowed at 39 and had 11 children, and that's all I knew. That's all I saw. Listen, we get it done. And my disclaimer or my interjection in that, there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's just important to know that if you're that type of person, you're still dealing with the pain that's there, because it's there. Don't get into this forward motion to not deal with the pain of loss. So it was very important. And then again, there are people that do need to take medicine, and I was experiencing PTSD. So there are even times now where it's weird, like I can feel anxious with certain things, and I literally have to go through my being mindful. And these are things that I share with my clients. And again, I said in the first video, a lot of times people think that therapists and counselors and coaches and so on and so forth, we don't go through anything, or we don't feel, or we don't experience these things. But the reality of it is honestly, I tell my clients things that I would ultimately do for myself, because sometimes these visceral or these physical responses to trauma and triggers and different things like that, or traumas, or these responses to feeling overwhelmed or whatever, it can show up and you didn't, at times you didn't even expect for it to. So it's important to know how to deal with that. It's important to have tools in place to deal with that, because if you don't, you drive yourself crazy. You could drive yourself crazy, or just get into behaviors that are not healthy. And so again, going back to the medicine, if that's something that you do need to do, I personally don't like medication. As someone who has psych background, I'm not against it in terms of if it's necessary for people. I just don't think it should be the first resort. And I know that in this world that we live in, it is the first resort for many doctors to treat their patients with meds that don't allow us to feel. I don't like that. However, I do advocate for supplements and herbs and stuff like that. So, and I don't mean weed. I don't mean weed when I say herbs. I mean supplements like ashwagandha, which is, for stress, to help with stress and things like that. So, that's that. It's important to cope. It's important to heal. It's important to feel, deal, heal, so that we can just be better. I always say, in my experience, it's not better, it's different. What I mean when I say so we can be better, I mean just better individuals and better to ourselves in terms of, living from excuse me, from day to day to day. You don't know how the response to grief is going to be, especially in situations where the loss is unprecedented or something that you've never experienced before. And so, excuse me, this would be a sign that I need to stop taping. Yeah, it's getting late, but I wanted to get as much done as I could get done today. I got a lot on the plate that's coming up, and I wanted to make sure that I committed to doing this and at least get these videos up. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I was able to share. And life since Kenny has passed has been amazing. And that sounds crazy. Like, somebody might be like, oh my God, why would she say that? It has been amazing. The slogan to my practice is partnering with you to help you live the best life, your best life possible right now. Your best life possible right now. That is the goal. That is my goal. My goal every day is to live my best life possible right now. Life may not be what it's going to be. I may not have all the money in my pocket I'm going to have. I may not have all the money in the bank I'm going to have. I may not have the job I want. It may not be perfect. But whatever it looks like, make it your best. That's where I'm at. It's like the equivalent of people when they say, oh, someone is successful. Success means so many different things for so many different people. So living your best life possible right now is different for you than it might be for somebody else. What does that look like for you? That's what we're here for. And when it comes to losing people, losing to loss, in this case, losing someone, by way of death, I had to make a conscious choice to continue to live my best life possible. Kenny, literally the week before he passed away, was like, you're my life coach, you're my coach. And I was doing some webinars at the time of his passing. I was doing weekly webinars and he would get on and everything. It was so cool, and so I've always said I try to live what I speak about or I teach about. I'm not perfect, but I certainly try. And in saying that, I mean, when I coach people, again, I'm coaching them to live their best life possible right now. So now that it became my turn to experience a loss or go through some type of experience that was uneasy, I had the choice to implement what I teach or to just do something different and almost be a hypocrite, so that wasn't the thing for me. I realized that the rug had been pulled out from underneath me, and that I had to figure out what life was going to look like and fast. And I did. And I began to live that life. And yeah, there have been ups and downs. There's hills and valleys. And some things have some things have happened in my life, that there's been progression, like with my career. I just had to make some choices in terms of what I was going to do, whether I was going to live, but they were my choices to make. My mom and them and my aunt, they were like, when before I told them that I wanted to go home and pack because I wasn't going to be staying up there, excuse me, they were like on pins and needles because they were like, oh my gosh, I found out after the fact, they were like, oh my God, well, she can't go back up there by herself. Yes, Auntie Carrie was up there, but they felt very much like, after this experience, I could not go up there by myself. But I needed to make that choice. I didn't know what it would look like. I'm the kind of person that when I go through something, when I'm going through something, I need to be in my own space. Like, that's me. Like, so after my divorce, in my first marriage, and I left the home, I needed to be able to process all of that without a bunch of questions and without, people being intrusive or telling me what they think I should do. And it's okay, if that's, people do that. I do embrace that. But sometimes for me, I just needed to be able to take that time to process to myself. And so with Kenny's passing, I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know whether I wanted to be by myself. I wasn't in the position at that time to get an apartment. So I was at my mom's, but my mom was very, very respectful. She gave me my space. And my mom is very much the kind of person, she wants to make sure I'm good, I'm okay. and she definitely senses me, picks me up. But she was great. She let me be to myself. And I needed that, especially staying, with her. Shakia, the same thing. They let me be. They let me do what I needed to do. That was important. So again, be true to yourself with your process of grief, regardless of the type of loss and whatever it looks like. Make sure that you're grieving in a healthy way. Make sure that you are honoring the emotion that comes up that day, because some days are going to be different than others. Yeah, it's going to be different, and it's okay. And it's okay. People didn't understand why I would be cracking up laughing, or I'd be jovial, or like I said earlier, be on the phone with them, and they were expecting me to be completely despondent and just, I guess, low, downtrodden, and I'm just not that person. So it was a shock to them, but I understood it was okay for me to be me. I almost felt convicted, like at first when one of the first persons said it to me. I was like, wait a second, I mean, dang, am I being insensitive? He was my husband, should I really? And then I realized, I think I was having a conversation with one of my family members, and I realized, I get to be true to what I'm feeling. And so I encourage you to just do the same thing. But I will say this to you: please do yourself a favor and be kind to yourself. Be gracious to yourself. Be merciful to yourself. Don't put a demand on yourself, and don't allow anyone to put a demand on you of how you should be grieving or what you should be doing. Especially if they've not been in your shoes. Be kind to yourself. Be gracious to yourself. Be merciful with yourself. Take care. Self-care is so important. Take care of you. It's important because we need you. The world needs you. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be wealthy. I want you to be whole. I want you to be happy. Again, you've heard me say that that's someone else's tagline, so that's not mine. But my tagline, that's not my tagline, but I want you to remember that we are here to partner with you to help you live your best life possible right now. Go out and live your best life. Whatever that looks like, be happy, be joyous, because life is not promised to us. Live your best life possible now. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you again for coming to my channel. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and click the notifications bell so that you get notifications for all of our posts. Again, our social media tags are in the description. But again, you can find me on social media, both Facebook as well as Instagram. On Instagram, it's Visions of Hope. It's at Visions of Hope, and also at only the number 1 Nayla Shay. You'll see it at the bottom of the screen. And you can also visit my website, naylashay.org. And the Visions of Hope website is under construction, so you can stay tuned for that. But if you would like to partner with us, or us to partner with you, to reach your goals or get to a better place, especially with regard to the grief process, feel free to email us at vohcoaching@gmail.com. Again, that's vohcoaching@gmail.com. Again, it'll appear on the screen. And I just want to thank you so much again for your time. We don't have any music that we're going to play this time, but again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. If you would like to give a donation to Visions TV, feel free to send it via Cash App at $Nayla Shay. Again, that's $Nayla Shay. And we'll put that in the description as well as our Zelle information. So thank you so much again for joining. And please go out and live your best life. Be good to yourself. Peace and blessings.